Hi everyone, this is Heather with the Potomac Bead Company. Today I'm going to show you how to make our new bracelet called the O-Pod bracelet. This bracelet is based on a right angle stitch for the base right here. It's right angle stitch weave, and our embellishment pretty much include our O beads with 15 O seed beads. This bracelet kind of reminds us of a pea pod effect, so hence why we came up with the O pods instead of for that name. The colors that I use in this bracelet it's 8O seed beads for my right angle weave, and I used a matte light tea rose, and then my O beads are actually a green iridescent color, and then my 15O seed beads are Miyuki Smoky Amethyst color. I did use an 8mm glass bead for my clasp or my toggle, and I just used some 8Os and my O seed beads for my clasp portion. This bracelet's fairly easy. It is very dainty and it's thin as far as the width is concerned, so it would look perfect for a little girl or a preteen. And it is easy to stitch up pretty fast. And if you like thin bracelets, this is a nice dainty bracelet to make. The colors that I picked are pretty much, I just used one color for my base. The colors that I'm going to do today, I'm actually going to use two different colors for my base, so I'm going to show you that version. And then I will be using for my base here, I used 8Os, and this is a blush line, and this color is 8O dyed rose bronze color. My 15O seed beads, again, are my Smoky Amethyst, and I will be using a Jet Valentine O bead color for the embellishment. And I do have a ceramic bead that I will be using for my toggle, and I will use a size 10 or 12 beading needle, what I have here, and the color thread I chose is going to be black, because I do have kind of neutral colors, and I will be using 0.006 inch wildfire thread. So once you've gotten your material set, I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet. So I've gone ahead and strung on a stop bead, leaving about 8 inches of a tail for for the beginning portion of my bracelet. And I like using stop beads for right angle weave just because the beginning of the bracelet is very unstable and it does eventually tighten up, but I do like my stop beads there just to keep the bracelet, the project, stable. So what we're going to do is with our needle and thread, we're going to pick up 4 of our base color, 4 of our 8Os. I'm going to drop it down to my stop bead, and I'm going to take my needle back up the first 2, and I'm doing that so that you guys can actually visualize what happens when we start a right angle weave. And here, as you can see, I have for this project we're actually doing a right angle weave of 4, and I do want it in this circular effect here. And so what I'm going to do now is actually take my needle up through the next 8O seed bead, and this will just create our first unit of right angle weave. As you can see, I will reference the unit as top bead, right bead, bottom bead, and left bead. It'll just be easier. And as you can see, my stop bead is the gold one. We do have a video tutorial to show you how to use a stop bead, and from now on I'm going to show you how to continue to add more units. And like I said, this bracelet's pretty much based on right angle weave of 4. So I have my first unit, my second unit, which is going to go up here. I already have 1 bead to that unit, which is now, it is the top 8O seed bead for this unit, but it's actually going to be the bottom bead for the next unit. And so since I already have 1, I'm actually just going to add 3 more 8Os because, like I said, it is right angle weave of 4. The unit is 4 beads. So I'm going to pick up 3 more 8O seed beads, and I'm going to drop them down. And what I'm going to do now is, because I want my right angle weave to kind of do a little circle like that. So in order to do that, I'm going to take my needle back through that top 8O seed bead, which is now the bottom of my next bottom 8O seed bead of this of this new unit that I'm creating. So since I've done that, it's given me my next unit. And in order to get my thread and needle back up here, I have to weave through the 8/0 seed bead to my right, and then take my needle from right to left through that top 8/0 seed bead. And just gonna pull. So now you have two units, two right angle units. And it is kind of unstable when you first get it going, and it's not going to look very pretty, but it will get better once you add your embellishments and the sides. So now that my needle and thread are coming out of the top bead of my second unit, I'm actually just going to add 3 more 8/0 seed beads. Didn't do it one more time. I'm going to drop that down. And at this point, what I'm going to do is take my needle from right to left through that bottom 8/0 seed bead of my new right angle unit. And it just pretty much forms that next unit. Then I'm going to take my needle up the left sided bead of my unit. Just going to take it up. And then I'm going to take it from left to right, take my needle from left to right of that top 8/0 seed bead. And that gets me in position to add another unit. So now I should have 3 units. I have 1, 2, 3 right angle weave units. I'm just going to show this to you one more time. So here's my top 8/0 seed bead for this unit, which is now going to be my bottom 8/0 seed bead for my next unit. So I'm going to put 3 8/0 seed beads onto my needle. I'm going to drop them down. And what I'm going to do is take my needle from left to right through that bottom 8/0 seed bead of that unit. So that's created another unit. And then I want to get my needle up to the top of that 8/0. So I'm going to take my needle from bottom to top through that right sided 8/0 seed bead, and then from right to left through that top 8/0 seed bead. And that puts my thread and needle in position to start another unit. You're going to continue doing this until you've achieved the desired length of your bracelet, probably leaving an inch for your toggle and clasp. And you can do that by measuring it out on your wrist. So go ahead and finish this pattern until you've gotten the length that you've wanted. Okay, so now that you've reached the length of the desired length that you want for your bracelet, at this point what I'm going to do is actually add on my toggle. So at this point, if your thread is coming out, here's my last unit right here. What I'm going to do is actually add an 8/0 seed bead, and then I'm going to take an O bead, add another 8/0 seed bead, and another O bead, and then I'm going to add my whatever type of toggle you're going to be using. For me, it's going to be this ceramic round bead that I have, and then another 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to add that on, and I'm going to take my needle, skip that 8/0 seed bead, and then take my needle down through the round bead, as well as these 4 beads that I had just strung on. This is going to be part of my toggle clasp. And I'm just going to pull. And then what I'm going to do at this point is take my needle from right to left through that top 8/0 seed bead of my right angle unit, and kind of pull so that it is centered. And we've just added on our toggle portion. Now at this point, your thread should be coming out of that top unit, and you should be on the left side of your project. At this point, we're going to pick up our second color, if that's what you'd like to do, if you'd like to make it 2 colors, because that's what I'm going to do for this project. You're going to pick up your second color. If you want to continue on with the primary base color that you've been doing, that's perfectly fine as well. It would look just like this, the example that I had earlier, but I'm going to use 2 different colors. So I'm picking up my second color. I'm going to drop that down, and I'm going to take my needle down. If we're doing it this way, taking it down my left 8/0 seed bead for that unit, picking up another 8/0 seed bead, and taking my needle from left to right. This is where it does get tricky, the embellishment. From left to right, that bottom 8/0 seed bead of my unit. And the way you're going to position that 8/0 seed bead, it is going to get a little tight. You kind of want to position it up and down just like that. You don't want it to lay on its side. And at this point, you're going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead, and you're going to go up of your second color. And you're going to take your needle up through that right 8/0 seed bead. And now I'm going to add my final 8/0 seed bead for my unit. And I'm going to take my needle through from right to left through my beige 8/0 seed bead of my right angle unit. Now, as you can tell, all my brown seed beads are my embellishments, and they are just kind of circling around. They are kind of circling around my right angle weave. And this is when you're going to find the definition that you want, very similar to my example here. At this point, we're going to add our O seed beads. I'm going to pick up an O seed bead and drop it down, and then I'm going to pick up a 15/0 seed bead, and I'm going to drop that down. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create my pod effect. I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to skip my 15/0 seed bead and take my needle down my O bead. And it's kind of flapping in the wind, but that's okay, because what I want to do is actually take my needle, this is where it gets a little tricky. I kind of want to take my needle through my bottom 8/0 seed bead of that right angle unit. And you're going to pull, and it just pulls it in nicely so it's sitting over that little area of that unit, of your right angle unit. And then what I'm going to do here is bring my needle and thread, and I'm going to, instead of skipping over that brown, my embellishment brown, I want to take my needle down through that brown, because what that's going to do is actually stabilize my embellishment from left to right. Then I'm going to take my needle down through my next unit, because we're going to work on our next unit now. I'm going to take my needle through my left 8/0 seed bead of my next unit. And that's going to get me ready to add my browns on each side. I'm going to show you one more time how to do this. I'm going to pick up my second color of my 8/0 seed bead. Oops. And at this point, what I'm going to do is take my needle from left to right. I'm going to take it through my right angle weave unit, that bottom. If you need to move it around, that's fine, but for direction's sake here, I'm just going to show you my bottom 8/0 seed bead of my right angle unit. It's my bottom bead of that unit, because we're working on this unit right here, if you can see. And now I'm in a position where I'm going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to use my brown, my embellishment, and I'm taking my needle up through my right 8/0 seed bead of my unit. And now we're in a position where I want to bring my 8/0 seed bead on this side, kind of stabilize that into my unit. So in order to do that, I'm going to take my needle up through that 8/0 seed bead that was already placed on prior. And here we're at a position where I'm going to take it through that top beige 8/0 seed bead, if you can see. My thread's coming out of that brown, and it's going to go from right to left through my top. This is my second unit of my right angle unit, my second right angle unit. It's the top bead. I'm going to take my needle through that, and what that does, if you can see, my brown seed bead on the outside is now at a much better, it is kind of stabilized into an up and down angle instead of laying sideways. But so now that I'm on my left side coming out of that top 8/0 seed bead of my second right angle unit, I am in position now to fill this little gap of my right angle unit with my O bead. So at that point, I'm going to pick up my O bead, drop that down, pick up a 15/0 seed bead, and I'm going to skip the 15/0 seed bead, take my needle down through the O bead, holding my O bead in place so that it's not, I don't have a lot of thread kind of coming through. And then what I'm going to do, since it's kind of flapping in the air, in the wind there, I'm going to take my needle from right to left through that bottom 8/0 seed bead of my right angle unit that I'm working on. And what that does, let me get my thread up. What that does, it pulls my O bead in place to create that P pod, O pod look. Okay, so now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to bring our needle down through these two seed beads because I want to stabilize my 8/0 so it's not jutting out like that. So I'm going to take my needle down the brown and the beige 8/0 seed beads, and I'm just going to pull so that it gives it a nice little look to it, and it's laying on its side, it's laying up and down and not on its side because that's what I want. And now I'm ready to work on my third right angle unit. So I'm going to repeat this one more time for you. I'm going to show you one more time. I'm going to pick up my second color of my 8/0 seed bead. Now I'm working on this right angle unit right here. I'm going to take my needle from left to right, if I can, yep, from left to right, that bottom 8/0 seed bead of my unit. And I'm going to pull. You might have to kind of shimmy things around because it does get a little tight here. You just want to make sure your threads are going the right way. And now I'm going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead for my embellishment, and I'm going to take my needle up the next two 8/0 seed beads. I'm going to take it up next two 8/0 seed beads on my right. I'm going to take it up through the beige one and the brown one. Now that my thread is coming up from the brown one, I want to go from right to left of that top beige brown of that right angle unit. I'm just going to pull. And did you see how that brown kind of, it stabilized it so it was nice? It's jutting in. It's got a nice side so it's not jutting to the diagonally, kind of like how that is. We want it to be like this. Now I'm in position to add my O beads. I'm going to pick up an O bead, drop that down, pick up a 15/0, drop that down, take my needle, skip the 15/0, take my needle down through the O bead. Oops. Kind of hold my O bead in place so I don't have too much thread hanging out. Let me fix that. And what I want to do is go diagonally to my bottom beige 8/0 seed bead. And I'm going to go from right to left. Can you see how I'm doing that? Right to left. I'm going to pull to bring my O bead over that right angle unit. And to complete the process, you're going to take your needle down the brown and the beige one on the left hand side. Making sure the thread is going the right way so it pulls that brown seed bead into an up and down position and not laying flat. And that is how you do the embellishment. It is a little tricky. I suggest you rewind the part that I explained 3 times, and then hopefully you will catch it after you kind of understand where your thread and needle go. It does get a little bit easier. And you're going to complete this until you get to the very end of your bracelet here. And then I'm going to show you how to add on your clasp portion. So continue the process. So now that you've completed adding all of your O beads and your 15 O's, I'm actually at the very end of my bracelet, and I've just completed adding my O bead to the top of my right angle unit. My thread is actually, if I were to place it this way, because this is how we were kind of working, my thread is coming out to the left of my bottom 8/0 bead, the off-white one, of my right angle unit, and this is when I'm going to add my toggle. Now, as you can tell, I had to add some thread to my project. So when I'm done adding my toggle, I'm going to tie these off and weave them through my project and cut them off so that they're not seen in my bracelet. But as you can see, it does kind of twist and turn a little bit as you're working through the project, but you will kind of manipulate that as you're working by pulling and tugging a little bit. So it does, after adding the second color or your embellishment color, it does kind of give it a more defined right angle look to your base color, and it does make it nice and more secure of a bracelet. So at this point, what I'm going to do is show you how to tie off or how to finish off the bracelet. Now, I already took my stop bead off of my project before I added my O bead, just because it was kind of getting in my way and I wanted to add my 8/0s. So I took it off, and I have that extra thread. Now you can use this extra thread to add your toggle, or you can just kind of tie off this extra thread by doing some half hitch notches through your bracelet once you've added on your toggle. So what I'm going to do to add on my toggle, now that my thread is coming up through the top, I'm just going to alternate every other an 8/0 seed bead and an O bead, because I think that I like these two colors together, and I also think it does give it kind of a nice distinct look with the O beads. It's a little bit more homemade appearance as well. But if you were to add a plain toggle, you would just add a couple of O beads and then your toggle and then string that through. So I don't really know how many I'm going to add right now because I haven't really tested. But pretty much what you're going to do is just add and then take your needle back through that 8/0 seed bead. And it should be complete just like that. And you're going to test it a couple times. Like I said, this was just an estimate. So once you've tested to see it's the right width, I think I might add a couple more because it looked like it was pulling at my thread. That's when you're going to do a little knot and then kind of complete your project with some half hitch notches through the project. So that is it. That's how you will complete your O-Pod bracelet. And sorry for all the thread here, just didn't cut any of it off. But like I said, once you're done with your project, you're gonna tie it off and maybe glue the knots if you want. So, but I hope you enjoyed watching this, and if you have any questions on how, you know, any questions about adding the embellishment, just ask and we'll try our best to answer. But maybe you can work on this the next couple of days during our snowstorm. And again, thanks for watching the project, and check our other YouTube videos out. We've got plenty on Potomac Bead, and we also have a Facebook page that you could check out some of our projects, and a web page as well. So if you'd like to order some of the projects or some of the products that you see here, that's available online as well. And one day hope to see you in the store so we can do some hands-on work. Again, thanks so much for watching.